Today we're going to be talking through the steps that we use to plan a trip. So if you're nosy or you just want some tips, this is the video for you.
Absolutely, stick around.
I'm still fly, I know. I'm still fly, let's go.
So we thought it might be helpful to tell you guys how we pick a holiday or choose a holiday.
Yeah, I'll go through the different websites we use when we're planning,
Yep.
the different steps, the different stages.
Absolutely, there's so many different things when you stop and think about it, what we do, and we just take it for granted now.
Yeah, so starting with the very, very first step, you want to pick your destination.
Absolutely, for us, we probably talked about the destination for months, if not years beforehand.
Yeah.
So it was fairly easy for a destination. Like, for example, I think we were already talking about Alaska, maybe, in like distant future. So maybe next time we pick Alaska might be a destination would pick, maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody kind of has their dream destinations that
Yeah.
they would like to go to.
A bucket list.
Yeah, kind of. So when you're talking about destinations and really like finaling down on it, you would
Yeah.
probably pick from there.
Absolutely.
Or something will have come up that you're picking from. So yeah, that's how you we just kind of talk it
Yeah.
out. We then would Google the place, see whereabouts, like what region we
Yeah.
were thinking of staying, what's around the area, kind of thing.
Absolutely. We also would watch vlogs on YouTube because, of course, and we'd do that for months, weeks prior to making any decision.
Yeah, that's the fun bit of it.
Yeah.
Then you have to start with the actual planning.
Yeah.
So then we kind of research the prices. So we have found sometimes it's cheaper to go through a travel agent, especially for Disney holidays.
Yep.
One thing to bear in mind there is a lot of them will price match.
Absolutely, yeah, and it is easier because sometimes if you're new to Disney, then they have a Disney person normally, and they could talk you through it. And like Emma said, they do price match. They also will look for any offers for you that you might be entitled to. So absolutely, it's definitely go and get both prices for what you do yourself and a travel agent.
Yeah, so that's kind of how we normally start. We normally like look at the different travel agent websites, get kind of an overall price,
Yeah.
and then see what we can get it out for ourselves. Independently using the different websites.
Yeah.
Also, if you're booking in a UK kind of staycation, you probably wouldn't do that.
No, we would use whole seasons normally if
Yeah.
you, in the UK, but yeah, you would do it yourself, or
Yeah.
we would normally do it ourselves in the UK.
Yeah. So once you've kind of researched how much you think the trip is going to cost, and you've kind of laid
That's
out,
the scary bit.
yeah, and you've kind of laid out your budget and what you can afford,
Yep.
and where you're going to distribute kind of the money.
Yep.
You can move on to looking at accommodation.
Yes, so now it'll be the hotels, and you'd have to look at like what you want from a hotel. You know, if you want a gym, if you're into that, if you want it near a beach, or whatever your must-have for accommodation is, really.
Yeah, when you're traveling just with two people, it's fairly easy to kind of pick out your different hotel.
Yeah.
We do have a trip coming up where we're traveling as a group, and that is a little bit harder because there are a lot more requirements.
Yep.
But then the way we do that, and if you're wondering how we do that, we all kind of put a load of places in like a bucket,
Yeah.
and then we just whittle it down.
Absolutely, yes.
It's super easy.
Yeah, so there's definitely a must-have for people. You know, for me, I like it to be a nicer sort of place than a cheaper end. So that's my requirement. I think you have a nicer place, you have a nicer shower, you have nicer food. So that's as a requirement for me. Emma might say, "Oh,
I just really like white linen.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
like floral or coloured
Absolutely.
bedding. I don't know why.
Yeah,
That's just a me
No,
thing.
absolutely, it makes it look cleaner. So
Yeah.
I definitely understand that. And then someone else's requirement might be you need a gym. Someone else's requirement is I want it to be close to a beach or whatever. And then you can sort of start working out from there.
Yeah, so some of our favourite websites to use, we mentioned Whole Seasons.
Yep.
If you're in the UK, there's obviously Airbnb,
Yep.
and Verbo if you're travelling abroad. But I like to use Booking.com, and I know it's pretty old school, but here's why.
It works.
Yeah, they've got
Yeah.
a wide variety. They even have some Airbnb ones on there now.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time you don't have to pay in advance, so you can either pay on arrival or pay a month before you arrive,
Yeah.
which gives you the flexibility to change your mind a little bit.
Absolutely, and it got a list. If you've got multiple hotels, because sometimes you've got multiple hotels in one holiday, it lists where you are, and you can see where you are. You can change, and there's no fee to cancel. Sometimes if you do it in enough time in advance. So yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, so we like Booking.com
Yeah.
for that reason. Another thing there is that they communicate, or you can communicate with the hotel
Yeah.
via Booking.com. You can obviously do that directly as well. But yeah, I like the flexibility of being able to kind of pay when I arrive if I want to.
Absolutely. I also like it the other way and pay before you get there.
Yeah.
You know, it's like way and done then.
Yeah, that depends on your budget,
Yeah.
doesn't it? And then one thing that John likes to do is check out the upgrades.
Of course, yeah. They say you work on your budget, and I always like to say, well, that's a standard room, but what's the room above, or what's the room above that, and see if it's feasible for you. You know, I think you do get benefits from it, of course, so it's worth looking.
Yeah, and sometimes there's not an awful lot of price difference.
No.
And if you're like looking between two different hotels, you can see if like one of them has breakfast options that and you know that will help your budget, or if one of them is close to lots of different restaurants.
Absolutely.
Also, using Booking.com, if you have used Booking.com before, this isn't sponsored. It's just how
You
we
want
do
it.
it. You do end up with a Genius status,
Yeah.
and that will give you 10% off.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
that's something to be aware of.
Absolutely.
It can make a big difference.
Well, 10% is nothing to be sniffed at, is it?
No. So obviously you wouldn't need to do any of those things if you've booked through a travel agent. So let's just assume going forward that you haven't booked through a travel
Yep.
agent. So the next step if you're travelling abroad is flights.
Yes, so now you need to know obviously what time you've got to be there, or you know wherever you go in and what times you want to fly, and then you want to go, well, do I want to fly economy, do I want to fly premium economy or upper class, work out what's best for you, and then pick an airline.
Yeah, so initially we would use Skyscanner just to see whereabouts the prices are
Yep.
and for the different airlines, because it really does vary. We like Virgin, we've
We
flown
do,
Virgin
yeah.
a few times, but sometimes they just come out ridiculously expensive compared to other airlines.
Yeah, so for Canada, we're flying BA for the first time. We're flying premium economy BA. I think it's going to be very similar, but it's the first time for us. The prices, I think the times were better actually than
Yeah.
Virgin. You got there at a better time. So that's another thing to look at. You know, if you want to be there at a sensible time, or what time is best for you, then look at different airlines.
Yeah, and if you are loyal to an airline and you're collecting points,
Yeah.
then that is obviously something to take into consideration.
Absolutely.
And if you're
yeah.
planning on taking multiple bags, sometimes it works out cheaper than paying for the extra bags
Yeah.
to book premium economy.
Absolutely.
It makes you feel fancier, but you know it does sometimes work out that way.
Absolutely. If you got a lot to take or to bring back in even upper class, I think you're allowed 2 big bags
Yeah.
each. What's obviously will save you money if you had to check in another bag in economy.
Yeah. So we normally then would go from Skyscanner and book directly with the airline.
Yeah.
Skyscanner just routes you to the place that is cheapest to book it. It normally is the airline's website.
Yeah.
So we would normally go through to the airline's website. and do
Absolutely.
that.
And if you are doing that, just as a safety tip, use a credit card, because if anything happens, like what's we just all been through, it's easier to do it on a credit card to get your money back.
Yeah.
Most people know that now.
And then make sure you pay your credit card. So that's how we book a flight. Also, we've had a look for Canada and it's worked out cheaper to have a connecting flight.
Yeah.
Just figure out if that is feasible for you. Looking back on it now, it probably would have been better to fly direct, but it did save us quite a bit of money.
It
So
did, about 1,500 quid. So I think at that time, we thought that was the best way to go.
we'll let you know.
Yeah, maybe it was better to pay 1,500 quid, but it's
Yeah.
something new, it's a new experience for us, so give it a go.
Yeah, and another way you could maybe, if you wanted to save some money, is check out neighbouring airports.
Yeah.
And see if it's just cheaper to go from there.
Yeah.
I know, especially if you're flying to Orlando, they've got several airports that are within the same
Absolutely.
region.
Yes,
So,
yeah.
and then another thing to consider is car hire. If you're booking in a package deal with a travel agent, lots of them actually include a small car in the price.
They do, yes, and if you're not bothered by a car, that'd be amazing, and that'd be a really good way to have a car on your holiday happy days.
Yeah, you don't have to have one.
No.
Lots of the time you can get transfers and things like that.
Yep.
But we like to have a car, and so we prefer to use Alamo or Enterprise.
Only because that's the ones we've used before. You know, I'm sure other ones out there are as good. We just can't talk about them because we never used them. Enterprise and Alamo we've used multiple times, and they've been really good for us.
And we've never really had a problem with them. It's always been nice and easy.
Yeah.
And the car that we've wanted has always been there.
Absolutely.
So we just go online, have a look at the prices.
Yep.
If sometimes you can get blue light discount with some of them.
You can.
That's military, NHS.
Military service.
Emergency service.
Yeah, all of them. So you know, military's got their own version of a blue light card.
Yeah.
A blue light, although any emergency services can get a discount.
They also, Enterprise especially, have a loyalty scheme, so
They do, yes.
that's worth knowing. So we normally this is where we have a little bit of an argue, because I'm really not, I like a car, but I'm really not that bothered. And so I'll be like, oh yeah, that one looks suitable, let's get that one. And then John's like, just scroll a little further. That's how that works.
I like to have a nice car. I like to have a car that we wouldn't have in the UK. So yes, this is when I'll spend a bit of money and upgrade a bit more. You know, in Florida we would have had a Mustang, upgrade to that, or a full-size SUV. I do like to have a nice car. It does make you feel nicer for the 2 weeks you've got it for.
Yeah,
I think. And even holidays to treat yourself.
Yeah, obviously look at the price difference, but we have had it where it's not been massive.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Also, talking about transfers, it's worth checking the different types of transfer. When we went to Florida in 2015, it was actually cheaper to have a limo drive us to Disney World than to get a coach.
But that was on a package deal, and they might have done something for us because it was a honeymoon. So absolutely check out all the options.
Yeah.
Don't dismiss any option.
But there's also transport if you don't want to get a car.
Yep.
So then obviously
Just your only else to think about on the car is if you are getting a car, just the gold insurance is for us always the better option. The gold insurance basically covers everything. You know, if you did have an accident, it would be covered. You wouldn't have to pay excess or whatever. It also covers additional drivers.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have to pay for additional driver. So when we're in Canada, we both want to drive, and that's within the same price.
Yeah.
I know other places that you'd have to add on so much for an additional driver. So something else to think about.
Yeah, I was just going to mention that a spouse or I think a long-term partner counts as an additional driver for free, and then anyone extra on that. I think it was like $10 a day for Canada. I don't know what it is elsewhere, but that's worth considering. And normally it's not a big deal because I don't normally care about driving, but I do want to take driving in another country off my list.
Absolutely,
so
yes.
I'm going to try and do that. The next thing, and probably one of the most important things, is visas and passports.
Yes, that's the next one we'll look at. Super easy.
Yeah.
The travel agent, if you're booking for a travel, would tell you about that. If you're not booking for a travel agent, then just Google it.
Yeah, check the government website. They'll tell you everything you need to know.
Yeah.
If you're travelling to America, you need an ESTA. Canada, you need an ETA. Figure out what visa is. Sometimes you fill them out on the plane.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to do them beforehand.
Anywhere in Europe now, unfortunately, you're going to need a visa of some sort. So just check what you need before you go, and it's a good time to check your passport as well, because that could take 6 months or however long to come to you.
Yeah, and you do need a leeway either on the end of your passport now, and I think sometimes it's up to 6 months, so definitely worth checking. Okay, we're back to a fun part. Now you've spent all of your money, and you've probably gone over budget. That's how we normally do it.
Absolutely.
It's time to plan out your itinerary.
Yeah, this is a fun bit. This is when you start looking at vlogs and stuff on YouTube and say, well, what is near where you going? You know, what's near the area? What do I want to do? What's my bucket list items? And I have a list. Emma have a list. And we say, I would be really upset if we didn't do X, Y, and Z. I need to do this.
Yeah.
And then you can plan it around that, really.
Yeah, so we normally start off with, we use a Mac, so it's Apple Pages, Apple Numbers that we use, but it's the same as Excel.
Absolutely.
You could do it handwritten if you want to.
Yeah.
So we just list down the days that we're there with the date, and then For some reason, we like to put times down the side.
We do.
Yeah, and then we slot in the things that we already know. So we slot in like check-in time, check-out time for hotels.
Flight times, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, when you're picking up your car, things like that.
Drop
And
off
then-
your car, parking, that sort of stuff.
yeah, you've got your basics in there then. And then we work to add in some of these things that were important that we wanted to see.
Yeah.
Starting off with like the most important.
Absolutely, and then you sort of like throughout the days you're there, add in things that you've seen on vlogs or you googled or you heard or you seen, you know, and you say, well, I want to go there, so we do it that day, and all that plans can change, but it's there, so you can make sure you can move it to where it needs to be moved, and you know you're doing it when you're on holiday.
Yeah, we like to check out places to eat. If there's any that we absolutely want to eat, we make sure to get a booking and add that to the itinerary as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
And another thing that is important that John mentioned earlier briefly is you want to make sure that the things that you're doing are in the same area as other things that you're doing.
Yeah.
This can be a really easy step to miss, and then you end up like, vroom, 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 in.
Absolutely. It depends what type of holiday you're on. If you're on a cruise, it won't matter.
Yeah.
You know, but if you're in Canada, then you potentially going from one end to another, and you think, well, I could have done that all in one day. You know, it just saves you a bit of time.
Or Disney World, for example,
Yeah.
you don't want to say, okay, I want to do Mine Train, which is in Magic Kingdom, and then I want to do Soarin', which is in Epcot, because that's not time efficient.
Yeah, it just saves you a bit of time, what means you can get more out of your day, more out of your holiday.
Yeah. One other thing we like to do on this spreadsheet is add a list of things that we haven't scheduled time for, but we would like to do if we got time to do it. You can't do everything.
No,
But we like to do that in case we've
we
got
try.
3
If
minutes.
you've seen the one for Canada, I'm sure we've done a video of that,
Yeah.
so go and check it out. But it's insane.
Yeah, but it's nice to have a backup list in case weather's bad or something's closed or you just don't feel like doing something you had planned.
Absolutely. Like say, if you had a plan, you're not stuck to it. You can wake up in that day and say, oh, I don't do that now, I want to do something else. It can change.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not stuck to it at all, but it's nice to have a plan in the first place for it to change.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, and the last step we've put on there is it's not necessarily a must do, but it is something we like to do, and that is book an airport hotel.
We do, yeah. I think it's part of a holiday for me. It gets us excited. I like the fact that you go down the night before. If anything happens, you know, going down your car or an accident or whatever, it's less stress and it's part of the holiday. It starts my holiday right, I think. You can have a few beers in the airport, watching the planes before you travel. You know, I like that.
Yeah, have a look at all the different options as well. We've stayed at hotels that are practically in the airport.
Yeah, absolutely.
We've stayed at ones that are a bit further out and
Yep.
you have to get a bus in. I wouldn't say that there's really a bad option, to be honest, but it's obviously nicer to be in the airport, but depends on your budget.
Absolutely, yeah. We like to see planes. That's one of our requirements. If you stay in the airport, we like to see the plane. You
If
know.
possible.
If possible. It's not always possible, but some airports are easier than others. So it depends where you're flying.
It also depends on what time you're going to get to the airport hotel as well, because they do stop running planes at some point,
Yeah.
and then you're going to book a runway view,
For no point.
pay
yeah.
more money, and there's going to be no point.
Absolutely, yeah. Also, you've got to look at your parking in the airport. However you're doing that, you know, if you're doing value parking, we've done that before. That works out really well. Sometimes that's saving money, so look at all your options because, you know, it can save you money as well. There's a really good one if you're flying from Heathrow. It's so easy, you don't need value parking. You just go short-term parking, keep your keys with
Yeah.
you, and you just walk into a terminal, so easy.
Yeah,
so it
you're like
depends
park-
where you're flying from.
Yeah, you're like parked in a multi-story then.
Yeah.
Also, I would say with parking, it's been in the news a lot recently, or lately, the
Yeah.
past few years, of scammy companies. So check the reviews or
Absolutely.
book through the airport website.
And yeah, to prevent that happening, you know, if I am parking myself, I like to keep my keys. I know that car's not going anywhere then.
Mm-hmm.
But if you are doing value parking, like I said, we've done that before, and it is really good. My car's got a dash cam. You know, you keep an eye on that. Have a look at the mileage before you leave, and see what it is when you get back.
Yeah, and just check the reviews.
Yeah.
So the final tip is to save for your trip.
Absolutely, yeah. So if you want to see a video about how we budget and how we save for a holiday, then let us know and we can do a video on that.
Yeah, and if you've got any extra tips and tricks that you can leave down in the comments that could be helpful to somebody, definitely do that.
Absolutely.
If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see a real life itinerary for our upcoming Canada trip, you can just click this video right here and you get to see all of of the nitty gritty, the
It's
details in
insane.
there.
It is mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.
Absolutely. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.